What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
Let's go!
Let's go! How are you, my friend, after coming off of, I think what you had was a successful Dana White Contender Series? Let's talk about that. Bo Nickel living up to the name, not getting the contract, but I actually didn't get to see the actual fight. Talk to me about the event and how it was.
Yeah, man. Overall, like the Contender Series has actually been a little bit better than it has been in the past. The last couple times I've tried to put action on it, it's been nothing but big underdogs cashing tickets. So this season I'm on 3 straight winning weeks. I don't bet it heavy because once again it's very unpredictable. But all in all, I had a good friend of mine that really put out something good about the fact that Bo Nickel was plus 225 for the submission prop, and it was like minus 125 on the KO. And you think about it logically, you know, he's going to wrestle. He's going up against a guy with MMA experience. So logically speaking, he's going to go for the submission as opposed to just trying to go for the KO, right? So I cashed on that. And then I cashed on a 2-ticket for Carpenter. And on the first fight of the night, I'm not going to try and pronounce her name, but Carpenter definitely made it sweaty. I don't know if you actually got a chance to watch the fight, but
I did.
Yeah. That first round, I was kind of sitting there like I was a little bit worried, man. He came out there, black eye in the second, and but you know, it's for a young kid, he showed good fight IQ, man, and I think the sky's the limit for him because he got his ass kicked in the first and came out wrestling heavy, utilized his advantages, and was able to continue through with a good game plan. So excited to see what's next.
I think he threw some of his best shots on the feet, and the other guy didn't really seem fazed by it. And he didn't really know what to do with that. I think it sort of threw him off a little bit. He should have went to the wrestling game plan right away.
Yeah, 100%.
And worked for a submission right away and just dominated, and that should have been the game plan. Obviously, that was Bo Nickel's game plan, and that makes sense. I mean, if you ever want to secure a finish on Dana White Contender Series and your win condition is through wrestling because that's your most dominant attribute, then yeah, definitely a smart play by Bo Nickel. And all in all, pretty good Dana White Contender Series so far. Let's delve into the fight to come that I am very excited about. The main event, we have UFC Fight Night, San Diego, Marlon Chito Vera against Dominic Dominator Cruz. Marlon Vera 19-7-1, Dominic Cruz 24-3-0. Let me know right now, what's the line currently sitting at? I know that Dominic Cruz is the dog, but what's the line sitting at currently?
Yeah, right now Marlon Vera is sitting at a minus 230 with a return on Cruz at plus 195.
Okay. Now, I mean, obviously, we look at a guy in Dominic Cruz who has fought the who's who's been the champion, is a legend, and you can hold him in that status already. So he's got this whole Jose Aldo thing. Is the comeback really valid, or has he just strung together a little bit of wins, and now he's going to face some of some of the top competition in the division and really find out exactly where he's at? Or is he going to come out and just style with his footwork and win a 3-round or 5-round decision, in style on Marlon Vera? I looked at it initially. There was even a moment where I was like, oh yeah, you know, Dominic Cruz, there's value in the dog there because of all of that he has. But then when you look at the matchup, man, I just think that with Marlon Vera and his attack-heavy kick game, even early, I think he's going to get at that early. I don't even think that he's going to – I know he normally waits to see what's going on, but I think if the game plan, if they're wise, don't even let Dominic Cruz get his footwork going. Start chopping at those legs at both sides because he's going to weave in, weave out, to the left, to the right. Go in on an angle, come out on an angle. He's going to change looks. And as he does that, he should be touching those legs right away and getting that speed of Dominic Cruz down right away. I mean, Cruz is already looking slower as it is. He's a little bit older. And I mean, what's slower for Cruz is not the same for anybody else. He's still fast as fuck. But, I mean, I think just think about if you look at it with the Rob Font fight. Marlon Vera fought Rob Font. Rob Font has a very hard jab. And he landed so many jabs. He landed volume there. but that being said, Marlon Vera just marched straight through and it just lit up Font. So I just think that Cruz doesn't have as much power as Font. I think that Cruz will still land a bunch of volume, and if we go to a decision in this one, we're just going to see a bloodied up Cruz who maybe did land more strikes, but maybe even got beat up on the ground a little bit at points just because he has been getting tagged on the feet. I could see him getting knocked down a couple times throughout the fight. I just don't see. I just think this is a bad matchup at the wrong time. I just don't know if there's a path for him back to the belt because there's too many monsters in this division. I just don't see it working for him. And I think that Vera is. We all know what he does, right? We all know what his game plan is. Very simple. I'm going to go in there for in a 5-round fight. He can do it for 2 rounds where he's downloading information, trying to figure out what's going on. But you'll probably see him pick up, at the end of the first round, if not beginning of the second round. But he's just going to download information, and everybody says he starts slow. He's running his game plan and doing what he does. He's got to watch and see what's going on first, and then he just attacks. And he's fucking vicious, man. Like, he's probably one of the more vicious fighters out there. So I just think this is gonna be a bad fight for Dominic Cruz. I could almost even see like sort of feeling bad, because it's a legend that is gonna get bloodied up here. I'm not trying to sell him short. I just think that Vera is the truth, man. I know that that's a different Vera, but I think Marlon Chito Vera is gonna win the fight here. I'm on the side of Marlon Chito Vera.
Yeah, dude, I'm still riding with Cruz. I'm not gonna lie. The thing with Vera in this spot is, I'm happy we disagree off the first one. Like, the way I look at this fight, man, is if you go back to the Marlon Vera fight versus Rob Font, I don't think that fight was as close as people think it was, as one side as people think. Like, Rob Font still outstruck Cheeto in every single round, but Cheeto was able to utilize a stronger striking platform and was able to kind of land the knockdowns, which I think won him the majority of the round. Also not very high on Raw Font. I don't think much of him. I think he had a couple of good wins, KOing Cody Garbrandt, but we've all kind of witnessed that a swift gust of wind can do that at this point. So I don't really rate him as high as a lot of people do. I think Frank Yeager, who is somebody who has slowed down a lot more, kind of put the work onto Vera too. And that fight was closely contested and a lot closer than people thought it would be. And speaking of Cruz slowing down, like, he got tagged hard by Muniz, but I think Muniz has a much heavier kicking game than Vera, and Muniz was still not even able to implement that sort of game plan. I think Dominic Cruz is going to be able to just kind of pick his shots, and if you look at all the fights that Vera's lost, it's fights that he can't control the plays against, like guys like Song Yadong, against guys like Jose Aldo. These are just spots where if he can't really get himself off, that he kind of just struggles to get going. And I see Dominic Cruz in the spot really starting to just pick him apart. Marlon Vera is a slow starter. I think he gets frustrated. And I think people are forgetting how good Dominic Cruz can look when he really starts getting going. The line that I honestly really like right now is there's a line of DraftKings that's sitting at -125, and it's Marlon Vera by KO and Dominic Cruz by decision, because I think Dominic Cruz can wholeheartedly win 3 out of 5 rounds. He's probably going to win the first. Marlon Vera has pretty much dropped every single first round in every single fight he's had. And I think if he can kind of implement a similar style that Frankie Yeager implemented, although Frankie did get caught, but I think honestly Cruz can ride this out to a decision. I just think people are kind of forgetting like how good he can be. And I think we learned a lot from that Muniz fight, man, because I said Muniz throws bombs with those calf kicks. And although he tagged him in the first, I love bet Cruz at like +230 or 330 or something after the first round there. Because at the end of the round, I saw the tides turning whenever he got into his flow state. And as I was saying, man, like with Cruz, or with Vera, sorry, all the fights that Vera's lost, it's generally whenever he can't get himself going. Like I said, Song Yadong, Jose Aldo, those fights where his opponents start to pick the pace. If he's in control, he rides all day. But if he lets Dominic Cruz get into that flow state that he gets into, I can just see him being very frustrated on the feet.
Yeah, you know what, man? I totally see that side of it too. Although I painted the picture that I did, it's just that's sort of the last. I sort of ran this through 1,000 times in my head,
For sure.
and I could definitely see him going into that flow state and being that Dominic Cruz. But it is what you said before. You said if he could be that person, right,
Yeah.
or something along those lines, right? So, and then he's the dog, and I was on your thinking completely. It's just I sort of faded myself. I dissected it and faded myself because I just wanted to get away from just being. I'm not saying that's why you're doing it, but for me, I almost wanted to jump on the side of the dog than the fan. It's almost like the Dillashaw Sandhagen situation. I don't know if you had referenced that earlier, but when Dillashaw came in, I was all over that right away. And I mean, some would argue that Sandhagen won that fight. Sure, I got the bet on that one, but I mean, someone would argue that Sandhagen still won that fight. It was a big war, but I just sort of wanted to jump on the side of the legend. Still, I say, yeah, it is a good dog shot, but I just think that I think Vera is going to either put him away late, and or win a decision. But I don't hate either way. But I think that we should do this because I think there is a shoey bet that is owed still.
There still is
That is
one.
owed still. And what was that for again, sir? Do you remember what fight that was for?
I think it's Dalcha that one of our.
Oh yeah, that's right. When you were the president of the Dolce Longambula fan club.
Yeah.
So you lost on that one. There's a shoey on the table for that. Why don't we throw another one on the table here, double or nothing?
I'm always getting these dogs. Eh? Yeah, whatever. Let's go. Let's go.
And my beard goes off again, and my wife's gonna really be pissed that I did this.
I feel a little bit more
okay.
confident in this one than Dalcha. So
Yeah, I mean, you have a better shot. I'm giving you a shot here. We're making it interesting, but I also would love to see you do two shoeys back to back. I know you can do it,
right,
but
left.
it's going to be awful to watch. Make sure your girlfriend's in the room. Okay,
Yeah.
Next fight on the card and the co-main event is Nate Landwehr against David Onama, and what could be some of the most entertaining round and a half of a fight that we're going to see. Landwehr's 15-4-0. David Onama 10-1-0. Landwehr's had sort of a roller coaster career. Yeah, he likes to get into some battles and sometimes gets himself in trouble. He's going to likely try to get Onama into some grappling situations, and for me, he's going to end up banging first. And I think what you're going to end up seeing is Landwehr's going to get into a little bit of a war with Onama. He's going to feel the power of Onama, and likely Onama's going to get him out of there in under 2 rounds. Now, and I know Onama's only fresh, and we could be totally, Landwehr's been around for a little bit longer, and we could see something, we could be completely surprised, and parlays could be destroyed, and whatever else. But I don't see it. I think that Landwehr likes to get hit. He goes in, he throws a lot of shots. He's looking at about 6 landed strikes per minute, but he's absorbing right around the same. And you can't take those shots from David Onama. You can't be that ignorant with your defense. He's going to have to mix this up and try to get Onama tired, and I just don't know if that's going to really play out. So I will pass this one off to you. Obviously, David Onama on that side of it, and I know the line's probably wide as hell, but David Onama is my pick. But I'm mostly staying off of this. Probably look at a KO prop or a time prop later on. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, this one, so David Onama right now is sitting at a -280 with the return on Nate Landwehr at a +235. I know a lot of love on the MMA space is coming in on Nate. A lot of people see him as a very live dog. I don't personally see it. Like, Nate tends to get beat up in a lot of his fights, and although he has looked a little bit more impressive lately, I don't necessarily understand why people are so quick to back him. I think a lot of it is people took a lot of hype with Onama coming in against Mason Jones, and unfortunately enough, people are kind of discrediting Mason Jones right now because of his last performance, and I think that in return, people are kind of discrediting Onama in the same respect. But realistically, like if you look at Nate Landwehr's last 2 wins, he got the 3rd round choke over Ludovic Klein, where Ludovic Klein's kind of a 1-rounder bust fighter.
Yeah.
So, and then other than that, he beat Darren Elkins, but he lost to 2 of, no offense, the worst fighters in the UFC right now in Julian Erosa. He got KO'd by a flying knee in the 1st round, and he got KO'd by Herbert Burns, a guy that we literally saw quit after going about 2.5 minutes of trying to grapple, and he's just like, no, I'm done. Whatever, he broke his
knee,
rib.
man. It was his knee.
Yeah, he blew his knee. It's still.
He didn't gas. He didn't gas, did he? I didn't see him huffing and puffing out there.
Herbert Burns?
No, I'm being funny, man. Fuck.
Okay. I was like, what?
That
Like,
man,
what fight do we
that really
watch?
is the fade in this fight right there. If there's like the one point you could look at, if you didn't watch any tape, didn't look at anything else, but saw his loss to Gilbert Burns, or sorry, to Herbert Burns, that's it. You're good to go.
That's it, man. And like the thing with Onama, like do you really think that even though people are kind of discrediting Mason Jones, like you really think Nate Landwehr is gonna do much against him? Probably not. Like I think we just saw like a new and improved version of his opponent in that fight. Like with David Onama, he's 10-1, and like he was going gun blazing in that third round against Jones too. So we haven't seen much of him on the in the UFC, but he took out Gabriel Benitez in the first round, and then he took out Garrett Armfield by a triangle choke. So you're seeing different aspects of his game. He's generally finishing fights all throughout the rounds. You have round 1 KO, round 2 KO, round 3 choke. Like, so the guy's in it the whole time, man. I think he's the real deal. Once again, I don't like the line due to his lack of experience in the UFC, but I think he's definitely the side. As for props, though, I don't. It's one of these fights, like I've said in the past, where I just like I could see this going 15 minutes, and I could see Owama getting him out there in the first round. So maybe just a parlay piece.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely I would agree with you on that. It's hard to find the value. You got to sort of dig in and find a prop or maybe a parlay, but I think it's more maybe a prop situation. Okay, so next fight on the card, we have Yasmin Uruguay against Lasmin Lucindo. This fight was initially scheduled for Yasmin Uruguay against Estela Nunez. So Uruguay was actually somebody that they looked at as a worthy opponent against Estela Nunez, who's been in the UFC for a little bit. And Uruguay, there was a little bit more tape on Uruguay than there was on Lucindo. Lucindo, there wasn't too much tape. I saw these ladies up near the top on the main card, and I had to see what was going on with this and tried to. This was the first bit of tape I did this week. Uruguay, the striking is there, man, and the striking is pretty solid. I'm actually pretty impressed by the tape that I saw, and I think that she maybe even could have put on a nice show with Estela Nunez. But Uruguay, I think, has a decent amount of grappling defense and takedown defense that she will be able to, at least from what I see on tape, that will be Lasmin Lucindo's game plan. Her striking is not really there. Her striking is more used to get into the clinch so she can get girls to the mat. Lasmin's going to want to take it down to the ground and look to submit Uruguay. But I think Uruguay's takedown defense, like I said, is pretty solid. Up against the cage, I think she can get off, scoot off her butt and get off, back in the stance and start throwing where she wants to at range. She just has that gritty boxing that you love to see. She's willing to take one, but she's defensively sound. Like she's in and out. Like I said, I'm only going off the little bit of tape I saw on both of them. Uruguay did have a little bit more tape, but I think that Yasmin definitely is a side. I mean, her money right now is what? I think she's minus. What's sitting at right now?
Right now she's sitting at minus 210 with the return on the other Yasmin being a plus 180.
Yeah, so I mean, with so many unknown factors, it's really an untouchable thing. But with the tape I saw, I definitely would jump all over Yasmin a spot. But yeah, definitely not touching this one for now. This fight's going to be a telltale sign if she's ready for the UFC. I think this is more of a setup spot from what I saw because they want to give her a shot in the UFC. But let's just see how it plays out. That would be my pick, but likely staying off it as a side altogether. And even at the level of striking that I saw, I don't even know if I want to go on an over on it. I want to leave it alone.
Yeah, like so this one's a tough one. Like it goes against, once again, I say it every single time we get these spots, low level women's MMA. And usually I'd smash overs onto this one, but I actually like the under 2.5 in this. Both of these girls are finishing most of their fights in the first round. And if Yasmin A gets it to the ground, although she's more inclined, like I said, like her tape shows that she wants to strike and grapple, but versus Yasmin B, she's gonna want to be able to get away from her. So I think this girl's gonna come out throwing fists, and honestly, I think you're gonna see a finish at some point in it. The under 2.5 is sitting at plus 155. And honestly, I don't hate it at all, man. Like
here I am trying to be conservative, and you're pulling out a prop out of this from me because I was along the same sort of line of thinking where I was saying don't touch the over. And okay, keep going.
Yeah, and I just, I think it's a very undervalued spot because, as I said, like both these girls are finishing their fights in the first round. So you think logically that one of them's gas tank isn't going to be good. So even if this fight gets extended, right, it's who's going to be able to continue that pace late because they're both so used to getting it done early. So I think if either somebody gets clipped in the first or somebody gasses in the second. So I like him.
What was that line sitting at?
Under 2.5 is plus 155.
Man, you know what?
I don't hate it, man. It's a good
All right,
spot.
so that's Nick's sneaky spot of the week. Okay.
And even if you want to get a little bit of Yasmin Luciotto, her KO is plus 700. So if you see that tie turning or whatever, man, you're gonna get a good line on her. So I don't know. I know some books don't give you the live bets on props, but if you see that starting to go, man, you could probably get a very good line on that.
Yeah, I noticed that even a lot of books are all over Dana White Contender Series. They're even in the live betting, you're getting options on the live betting,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Carpenter was a plus 330, and I was after the first round from like a minus 280, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, I already got money invested in it. You don't double up, and then I was like, fuck, I should have doubled up on this one, but either way.
Next fight on the card, we have Devin Clark against Azamat Mirzakhanov. Devin Clark 13-6-0, Mirzakhanov 11-0. Freshly new to the UFC is Mirzakhanov. Clark pretty well a pretty seasoned vet in the UFC at this point. Been in some pretty big wars himself. If we're looking at it right now, as far as the reach advantage, Clark does have a 4-inch reach advantage. And really, I don't know if that's going to really play too much of an issue because he doesn't really utilize his reach the way he needs to. He likes to get hit. But that being said, maybe he just sort of looks bad in some of the fights that he's been in where he gets hit because he actually is pretty defensively sound. He lands about 3 shots per minute and he absorbs about 2.5. I guess that's relatively defensively sound, but his output's just not there. He's pretty much looking to pin you up against the cage. He's going to try to take you down to the mat. This is the journey that he goes on in almost every fight and the journey that he just never sees the end of. He just never really quite gets dominance in any situation. And if we're going to see a judge's scorecard at this point, that kind of control time is not even relevant at all anymore. Pinning a guy up against the cage without any striking at all is not going to win you fuck all. If that other guy lands 1 strike in the fight, he probably won the fight. So really with this, Devin Clark, I know he's coming off a big win. And he was our hero in that fight because we don't like Knight. We were fading Knight. And that's a big win. But I mean, he took a lot of damage in the Kutalaba fight. And really when it comes down to it, I just think that he's going to get touched up quite a bit in this. I think that Azamat's going to be able to keep this on the feet. He's going to keep this off the cage. He's violent enough that, when he circles off the cage, he's going to land at elbow. If he breaks off, if he can circle off the cage while Clark's trying to hold him there, he's going to throw, he throws flying knees from standing position. We know that that's one thing he's done, but he's willing to throw crazy shit like that. And the man's just pure violence. And I think that he's the spot here. I think Clark probably gets put out in this fight. I know that Clark is a very popular dog right now. I think everybody's all over Clark, but I like what I've seen from Mirzakhanov, and I'm going to ride with him in this one. What's the line currently sitting at?
Right now, as Matt said, at a minus 145, with the return on Devin Clark being a plus 125.
And what's Azamat? Is he by KO? Is that there yet?
Yeah, I got all props pulled up too. Plus 140.
Yeah, I think it's a decent spot, but regardless, even just as a pick or even as a parlay piece, I think that Clark's gonna get beat up in this fight. But hey, there's a lot of people on the dog. So what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so my thing with Asmat is, and I feel like you've probably heard this a lot before, is I had Asmat on like the top of my ticket whenever he fought Tafon, and he lost those first 2 rounds, and he didn't like. It's not even the fact that he lost them convincingly, like he lost them by not having output. So it's hard for me to back him in the spot because as much as I'm not a fan of Devin Clark either, Devin Clark is somebody who will in return fight for your money. And although we question his chin, like Dion Kutalaba fight, man, like the dude was missing teeth, getting his face punched in, and he was still in that fight. So it's definitely a tighter, tough fight for me to call. I will side with Devin Clark just because I refuse to bet Asman after that fight because I've never sweated so much on a guy that was like a minus 380 favorite. So, but it's not necessarily a confident take. It's just
What's fight doesn't go?
fight right now. Round props is sitting at 1 sec. 2 seconds here. The under 2.5 is sitting at minus 135, and the over is at plus 105. I'm not finding the.
So you think if Clark's going to do it, he's going to do it by decision, obviously, yeah?
I think this fight probably. It's tough to say, but I think this fight there's a good chance it goes to decision. I think Asmat by decision at plus 400 isn't the worst read either. I think people are expecting violence in the spot, and I'm expecting a lot of hugging. I don't think Devin Clark's going to want to engage in Asmat striking, and I don't think Asmat puts up enough volume to keep Devin Clark from pushing him against the cage. He has the same game plan through and through, right? Like he wants to push you out. Even that William Knight fight, he ended up KOing him by pushing him up against the cage and landing decent strikes. Like it's not like he's out there winning clean boxing matches. And the fights that he does win, it's because he can drag somebody down and wear them out. And as I said, we saw with Asma, man, like he came out in that third fight against Tafon, huffing and puffing, gassed as shit. And he just threw a knee at a perfect time. And Tafon didn't see it coming at all and clipped him clean. But if that knee didn't land, he was losing a decision in that fight. So I think fight goes is probably a good play in this one. You're going to get decent plus money. And if you're on the Asmat side, I don't hate the plus 400 on him winning by decision. Because as I said, I see a lot of cage control back and forth between the two guys pushing each other up.
Yeah, okay. So we're on completely different ends of the thought process on this. That's all right. I although I don't see it'll be a crazy striking affair and whatever else, I just think that what lands from both sides will be there's gonna be there's gonna be elbows in the clinch, it's gonna be bloody, it's gonna be messy. And I still see someone finishing it. But regardless, we can't double down and triple down on the shoey bet, so we'll leave that one alone. And I'm not really big on that side of it anyways.
Oh, it's a tough fight, man.
I even sort of threw out the word parlay, and I think you talked me out at that spot, but that's okay. Okay, next fight is a fight that we already broke down. Priscilla catch a beating. As the great Paul Shaughnessy would like to say, 11-4-0 against Ariane Lipski, who is 14-7-0. And a lot of people were shit on Lipski this week because they were already sort of fading her a little bit. The last, fight they were supposed to have, which was last week.
Yeah.
And they're basically saying, a lot of people were more or less saying that she hasn't really lived up to what she's supposed to live up to and that she's probably going to lose the decision. And really, I just think that Lipski, whether she missed weight or not, whatever her reasons are for missing weight, that's last week. Yeah, I know having to cut weight for both girls is going to be difficult. People are sort of fading Lipski even more so in this weight narrative, and I think they're feeding too much into it. If anything, I think it would actually maybe even affect Priscilla a little bit more. Because I think that Lipski's more precise in her striking. I think she's going to land. And really, when it comes down to it, I'll say it again, and I said it last week. She takes the kitchen sink. She takes the fucking car. She takes everything off the fucking chin. 7.91 strikes landed on her chin. That's crazy. Or strikes absorbed in total, sorry, not on just her chin. But she's taking 7.91 strikes absorbed per minute in a fight. Sure, she's willing to go in there and press the action. She outlasts people and she can finish girls or even pull out decisions in crazy situations. But I just think that this is a Lipski spot. I think Lipski's going to piece her up. She's going to tag her up real bad. And whether it's a club and sub or just a mix up of wrestling to strike, she's just going to beat her up pretty bad in this fight, I think. What's your take?
Yeah, so
what's the line currently sitting at?
Right now, Ariane Lipski's sitting at a minus 170, minus 195 with Priscilla at a plus 165. Yeah, like to be honest, there's a lot going into this fight, which kind of makes me just want to stay away from it. Like, I don't blame anybody from taking Priscilla as a dog, but as you said, like all Ariana really has to do is throw, and her face is going to be there to be hit. Like, you're kind of banking on the fact that Ariana is going to be hesitant, which is possible. But Priscilla also has one of the worst takedown defenses we've ever seen. So Ariana, once again, you can't really bank on people to do things, but she really just has to shoot a couple takedowns too. Like, she's been known for in the past. She has a handful of submission victories. We haven't seen too much of it in the UFC, but the path to victory for Ariana is really there in every aspect of it. And the path for Priscilla is to just frustrate her by blocking punches with her face and just in return trying to land more punches. So it's just I think your boy there, MMA Lock said it the best whenever I was listening to a show today, that Ariana's the better mixed martial artist and Priscilla is the better fighter. I agree with that point 100%. But to where I disagree with him on that is I gotta back Ariana being the better martial artist in that spot, knowing that her fight IQ will exceed somebody who, once again, as you said, just wins fights by taking punches to the face. So I side with Ariana, but I would not touch this fight. As Ariana had COVID, that's why she missed weight allegedly. Apparently, she had COVID. She couldn't train for 3 weeks. She had issues with her lungs. She was on medication, which caused her cardio to be affected by it, which caused her. So there was a lot leading into it. We don't know if there's going to be a lingering factor. You have that. This fight's up at 135 now. So I don't know who that honestly favors. Like, I don't know who's really going to come in looking bigger because I don't really know how much these girls cut weight to. I don't know if that's going to cause either one of them have more gassing issues. I just see so many variables in this fight where it makes me want to stay away. But from a pick perspective, I will side with Ariana again.
See, I didn't hear that side of the bit on the COVID. That makes me a little hesitant as well.
That's
too,
what I
then.
mean.
Yeah. So I still, once again, I'll take her as a pick, but I think as far as I was looking even maybe some props, maybe that'd be something that we stay away from. There might be some fun, strikes landed props, whatever out there you guys want to mess around with out there, but for the most part, maybe it is a stay away. So next fight on the card, we have Bruno Silva against Gerald Meerschaert. Bruno Silva 22-7-0 against Meerschaert, who is 34-15. Jesus. If we look at it, the range actually goes to Meerschaert, who has a reach advantage, 3-inch reach advantage. And if we're gonna break down this fight, I mean, it's really simple. I think that Bruno Silva showed what he was worth in the Pereira fight. That's it. I think he showed what he was worth in that fight. He's a guy that you back. He's a guy that's going to go to war and consistently push and do whatever he can to win. His striking is on point. He has power. He does leave himself a little bit exposed at times, but Meerschaert's not going to be the guy to expose that here. This is a spot of Bruno Silva potentially showing poor fight IQ at a point when he's maybe gassed later in the fight, which is the same story for almost every Meerschaert fight. And then as an opponent, poor fight IQ, gets caught into a submission, and Meerschaert walks away with the victory. That's pretty much the only angle here for Meerschaert. I don't see him really winning any kind of minutes on the feet. And I think that Silva is just going to end up pushing him back with his power. I know that they're pretty much almost the same with their striking. You have, as far as volume, and numbers, but that doesn't always mean anything. You have Silva, who has 5 strikes landed per minute. He absorbs 4.79. And you have Meerschaert, who throws 3 points. It's just over 3 strikes landed per minute, and he absorbs 4. So they're about the same as far as defensively sound and what they're throwing. They're willing to take some. So we're going to see a really fun battle for as long as it lasts. I just think that Silva's power is too much. He's going to drop Meerschaert, and he just needs to not follow him down there. He needs to stay up. Don't get ankle picked and get his ankle taken, and he gets down, gets taken down with a leg lock or whatever else. He just needs to stay on top, stay sort of defensively sound on top while he's landing those strikes, posture up, and go to work. And that's what he needs to do. But who knows? I know that some people are jumping on the dog on this one. I think it's a bad spot. It's wasting your money and throwing it away. What do you take on this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on Bruno Silva all day. It's like what we talked about with Paul Craig, right? Like, there's a time to get off that boat where it's just, you don't think there's a spot to make money. That's how I feel about this fight too. Like, Bruno Silva's a black belt in his own right. Like, The guy has an extensive grappling background just the same. And Gerald Meerschaert really struggles to get people to the ground. Like, he kind of relies on his opponent's gassing, and you don't see a lot of that out of Bruno Silva. To be honest, like, if you got 10 grand to freaking spend, man, like on DraftKings, you have Bruno Silva by KO or Gerald Meerschaert by submission at minus 330. I would drop a mortgage payment on that, or I would drop my mortgage on that. Sorry, like, I don't think you can get a better prop than that on any single fight. But I think Bruno Silva probably KOs him. If you are on the Gerald Meerschaert side, like, if you want to get like good odds, it's over plus 1,000 for him to win in every single round by submission. So like Gerald Meerschaert by submission in any round is plus 1,000 above, and it only gets better from the first round. So, but as you said, man, violence all day. Bruno Silva KO plus 125. Bruno Silva KO first round plus 250. There are plus 150. Bruno Silva KO plus 245 second round. This fight is violence.
I'm more on those props than on the other side. I think that, you know, there's sneaky sub props you can catch. You know, Turner is a big one.
Yeah,
this is a spot right now.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think Bruno Silva is as much of a lock as we're gonna get on this card.
Okay, next fight on the card. I'm gonna get my my fanboy hat on. Just put on my imaginary fanboy hat. Lupi Godinez, who is potentially one of my favorite fighters in the UFC at this point. 8-2-0 against Angela Hill, who is 13-12-0. And this is an easy spot where, even though I'm a fanboy, and even though I'm going to go on the side of Lupi, so is everybody else. So you're okay even if you go on the side of Lupi, if you follow me on that one, whatever I say, because, you know, you're not going to get Anthony Smith. Okay, in this situation, we have striker versus grappler. We have seasoned vet versus up-and-coming phenom at this point, I think we could easily say. Yes, this is going to be the true test for the phenom, because if she actually runs through Angela Hill, then we can really, really start talking about, you know, what the limit is for Lupi. Her wrestling in her last fight was just top notch, and Carnelossi is no joke. I know that she does sort of fade, so she was able to sort of throw her around a lot easier later in the fight, but she just attacked her from you know, the bell to bell, and won that fight in every which way. Her takedowns went up to about, what is it, 5.37 per fight. And that has a lot to do with that fight, because she did have a problem with Luana Carolina, and that was in the middle of her fighting, you know, a melee of fights all in the span of a short period of time. She just kept accepting fights. Carolina, she took up in weight and was just too big, and she couldn't really figure out how to get her down off the cage. But anybody else, she's been able to just throw around. And I mean, she does have, I believe she was on the Canadian national team. And for her, she's just going to end up mauling girls, I think, until she runs into that higher level. And I even think she's going to maul Angela Hill in this situation. Do I necessarily see that she finishes her? I don't know about that. I think that's where, you know, anybody that's looking at wanting to see a Hill side of this, because she's a seasoned vet, she has the strength of schedule and all these things. She did show a lot better takedown defense against Brina Jandiroba. But that being said, if you're looking at potentially saying that Hill was to win this fight and she is a dog, then look at Godinez by decision, because I think that she might last 3 rounds, and that's the best you're going to get out of Angela Hill in this. She's probably going to get beat up pretty bad. Maybe tag Lupi a little bit to get some respect, to stay off the feet, and then Lupi will just take her down. She's going to be active. She's going to be throwing strikes in all different situations, even attacking subs. So, I mean, in this situation, is Lupi all day, but it is one of the wider, especially for female MMA, it's a difficult spot. Right now, she's currently sitting at what?
Minus 380.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind looking at props on this one and having fun with it. Even maybe looking at a split, because maybe she does get tied up on the feet, and Hill, you want to give her that much respect. I don't see it, because Hill is the split queen, the lost split queen. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think. Do you think she can get it done, or you think it's going to be likely a Lupi very dominant decision?
I think it'll be fairly dominant. I think Angela Hill has potential to win the first round, because Lupi doesn't always shoot right off the bat. She tends to be a little bit of a slower starter to get kind of engaged in the fight. But I think she'll probably take a couple shots and start shooting fairly quickly. I honestly think this fight goes to decision, though. Angela Hill has been taken down a lot in her career. It's generally how she loses. And I don't think she's ever even been subbed in the UFC.
She's a warrior.
So that's what I mean. Like, I definitely think she'll be able to withstand. And it's not like Luffy's going out there and subbing everybody either. Like, she has a couple submissions, but they're against fairly low level competition. Where Angela Hill's been in there with kind of everybody. So I'm with you, man. There's not much more to say. Like, Luffy decisions minus 150. I think that's a parlay piece. You turn that almost 400 favorite into something a little bit more bettable. And I think you call it a day on that one, man. Angela Hill's going to get taken down for 2 out of 3 rounds. And I'd be astonished if she did not.
And yeah, you are right. I mean, on your point, like I think she is tough enough that some people on the ground might not be able to handle strikes on the ground, and they give their back, and then the rear naked choke is there, or there's just different things where you sort of give up a limb being defensive because strikes are there. And Angela Hill is a warrior. She'll be striking from her back. So in that case, yeah, you are right. I think Loopy's gonna have to be a little bit more defensively sound even when she's in top, but she's gonna be pretty dominant, and I think she wins this one. Next fight on the card, we have Martin Buday against Lucas Brzeski. I had to go back. I mean, we had watched, both guys on Dana White Contender Series, and then obviously Buday's, it was disqualification in his last fight. It was a DQ, right?
Yeah, that's what it was ruled as.
Yeah, they ruled it as a DQ. I didn't bother watching that one back because I only freshly just watched that.
Chris Barnett won out of that fight, though, man. It was.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. You could tell he definitely won out of that fight. The one person I think I'm definitely going to fade in this spot is definitely Brzeski. I was not impressed by him at all in the fight against Dylan Potter. And I know a lot of people tend to shit on Dylan Potter, but I mean, he was actually in that fight, and he was actually, taking the best of what Lucas had, and he was actually pressing right back. Made a couple poor decisions that put him in some bad spots. But all in all, being a smaller guy going against him, he actually fared pretty well. And Lucas, all of a sudden, as soon as he faced any adversity at all, gassed and did look like a completely different person pretty early in the fight. And I think that Martin Buday is going to be able to mix up enough, be defensively sound, because when Buday comes down the middle, he's pretty tight with his striking. He's throwing down the middle. And he's not wide, so he's not exposing his chin. He's not leaving his head out on the center of the line. But that is exactly what Lucas does. Although he's explosive and he has power, I just don't think that he's the spot here. I think he's gonna get touched, possibly on the way in with a counter, and then taken to the ground and then just fucking mauled by a bear. I get that at points people have sort of questioned Budai. Just I don't know if it's gas or you just sort of see him at points, but regardless, I mean, him with those elbows, although it was a DQ, was absolutely fucking devastating. What a scary man. I'm going to take Martin Buday 10-1-0 against Lucas Brzeski 8-1-1 with the no contest because he didn't tap. And I know that Dylan Potter, I believe, I checked out the podcast before, he didn't tap. And on top of that, Brzeski just is going to gas real quick. So anyway.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. I like the late TKO from Buday there. I think that with Brzeski, he's going to be maybe live relatively early, but I think he's going to push up against the cage. As he says, gas tank comes into question. He generally finishes the fights early, he only has one loss on his record, I guess, but it was from a guy that's 6-6, 8-8 now. And yeah, man, if you watch that fight back, he pretty much gets hit with a jab and he's on wobbly legs. So I'm with you, man. I don't think the guy's really UFC caliber. I think this is more or less just like a show me fight. And I think in the heavyweight division, they're looking for contenders. And I think that Buday there, I think that's who they'd rather win this fight. Buday by KO right now is plus 140. I think it's a good line. Because I said at the end of the day, somebody's going to go to sleep in this fight. So it's either you bet violence or you bet Buday. Yep. But I honestly, I really don't see it from Lucas.
Lucas has the power and the explosiveness, but it's so sloppy.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that Martin Buday is game planning for that. And the one thing he does really well, like he slowly closes that distance till he gets in that clinch range and can press you up against the cage. So he goes in, can absorb strikes through a nice high guard with his striking defense. And then he just slowly inches that distance and you're losing ground and losing real estate. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're on the cage. If he does that twice, rinse and repeat, Lucas is going to be huffing and puffing, and then he's just going to be able to put him wherever he wants to put him, stay on the feet with him, whatever he wants to do. Because the shots, they lose gas real quick. So unless, and that was on roids. So
Yeah.
what's he going to look like when he's not, or whatever he took, whatever enhancer. So, anyways, yeah, I'm pretty heavy on Martin in this spot, but the heaviest spot of the night is female MMA. The heaviest spot of the night is a spot where I wasn't heavy when we first looked at this fight on the card. But then as the week grew on, I know a couple fights had dropped off, and we were looking at some of our spots to play. And Nina Nunes by decision, I think, is something that's going to happen. I think that this is not just about Nina Nunes' strategy and game plan and what she's done in her past fights, and her path to victory is usually a decision. She runs a good stand-up game, can keep off the cage, keep off the ground for the most part, and stay out of trouble. Calvillo, well, she's an absolute great grappler. She's 9-4-1. Nina Nunes coming in at 10-7 or 10-7-0. Calvillo, once again, and I've said it in the past breakdown, she's fallen in love with her striking. And that's it. She's fallen in love with the striking and forgot that her path to victory is her submission game. The problem is she doesn't have a wrestling game. She doesn't know how to shoot. She doesn't even know how to scramble and actually get, even pull guard or do anything. She doesn't know how to get it down to the mat. So you could be the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world. If you're not going to get it there, and the person that's on the other side of it has better fight IQ and isn't going to want to go down there with you and play those games with you, and then you're going to be stuck on the feet. And then on top of that, Cynthia Calvillo, even if she comes in with a wrestle-heavy game plan, all Nina Nunes is going to have to do is stand in front of her, touch her up a couple times, make her want to get into a striking affair, and Calvillo will just jump off to the races and forget that she's a grappler, and she's going to get into the boxing realm again. And then what's going to happen is she's going to be 3 rounds down, or potentially 2 rounds down, going into the bell, and Nina Nunes is going to walk away with the decision. I don't really see it going any other way. I mean, unless Calvillo comes out of nowhere with some new crazy heart. But my thing is, the heart was gone when she didn't even get off the stool, right? Once you see a fighter do that, I mean, that's retirement time. That's retire. Like, go be a real estate agent. That's where I'll leave that one. I think that a big spot of the week, and it actually is lined heavily so because they already got to look at it. Nina Nunes by decision. What's that sitting at currently right now?
Plus 225.
Oh, okay. So it's actually a little bit better. So maybe there's some love coming in on Calvillo. What's the line sitting at currently?
Calvillo's a minus 170. 1 second, pull it up here. Yeah, minus 170. Nina Nunes is plus 145.
Okay, no. So for some reason the win condition got a little bit juicier, but the line's still sitting roughly where it was. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm Nina Nunes on this one. What's your take on this one? I mean, when you see someone, quit, when you see someone that they can't get their win condition, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the same thing, man. Like whenever we originally broke down this fight, I was heavily on Nina Nunes. My opinion hasn't changed since. I think you can argue that she comes from the better camp, and she's showing a lot less quit. Right? You got to admit, both these girls are coming to probably the tail end of their careers, but Nina Nunes, I think, still wants to be in there. I think seeing Amanda win last weekend will definitely light a fire, or not last weekend, but a couple weekends back, probably lights a little bit more of a fire underneath her. And I think she's probably going to be pretty hyped up for this, where I see Cynthia finishing out her contract and then calling it a day. I really like the Nina Nunes by decision, plus 225. I think it's a great look. I also am going to sprinkle the Nina Nunes by KO in round 3 at plus 2,800 because, as I said, the amount of quit we've seen in Cynthia and the hands that Nina Nunes does possess if she does decide to throw, I think there's a good chance that Cynthia calls it quits again after what we saw in the Andrea Lee fight. Not comparing the striking between Andrea Lee and Nina Nunes, but Nina Nunes does train with the best. So,
yeah, I mean, that definitely is something that should maybe make people feel better if they were worried about the weight miss before or she was sick or whatever it was. And then you look at how Amanda looked, and you got to think that that's going to rub off at least a little bit in the fight camp. So definitely a spot to play. Next fight on the card, Gabriel Benitez against Charlie Glass Canoe Ontiveros. 22-11-0 against Charlie Ontiveros, who's 11-8-0. And we have a little bit of a reach advantage for Ontiveros with a 3-inch reach advantage. I don't know if it's going to really matter much. If we look at it, man, Ontiveros' win condition is some stylistic, crazy strike. But he's had 2 fights in the UFC. And I don't know what the actual time is before he's been canned, but he's landed 0.7 strikes in his time in the UFC octagon. Per minute, sorry. 0.7 strikes per minute is his average in the UFC cage. So, you know, I know that he hasn't been in the UFC cage too long because he's getting knocked the fuck out. So that really is the story of this fight. I mean, really, I think Gabriel Benitez isn't the guy that Charlie Ontiveros is going to expose and catch and whatever else and be the guy that, you know, we all get a ticket blown up on. I think that Benitez is going to come in and just style on him. I think he's going to beat him up, maybe weather and guard up on 1 or 2 shots, see Ontiveros gas a little bit, and I think that he's just going to put him out. Like, Ontiveros isn't going to be Onama. Ontiveros isn't going to be Quarantillo. He's going to go out, and Benitez is going to style on him and put him out. I mean, what's fight doesn't go right now? And what's the line sitting at? What's fight doesn't go? And then even Benitez by KO.
Right now, Gabriel Benitez is sitting at a minus 350 with Ontiveros sitting at a plus 290. It's juice.
Even a little wide, I think, for the level that Benitez is, but I think it's just because Ontiveros shown he's just such
for some reason though, this is the only fight I do not actually have props on DraftKings. But
okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. But yeah, I think like everybody's gonna be on the same page. And I think everybody who has Gabriel Benitez in a parlay is gonna put like $10 on Charlie Ontiveros first round because it's gonna be at this line, you're probably gonna get at least plus 1,000 on it. That's really his only win condition. Gabriel Benitez has shown to have more durability. He's gone later in the rounds. Ontiveros, as much as he's finishing his fights in the first round, the guys he's beating are 50-50 fighters at best. Most of them are like 4-6, 6-4, like not very impressive records to say the least, right? So, but I do have to say for people who are going to parlay Gabriel Benitez, one, I don't think it's smart just because, as I said, like he's coming off 2 pretty much first round finishes, if I remember correctly. And yeah, well, no, he lost to 3rd round to Billy Quarantino, but you never know, man. He's another one of these guys that's kind of at the tail end of his career. The only win he has in the last 3 years is against Justin James. So just tread lightly on it. I do think he's a side. I do think he gets it done. But at minus 350 for a guy that's 1-4 in his last 5, it's a little dicey, even if it is Charlie Ontiveros.
I think that would be a spot where you could potentially parlay a fight doesn't go.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, I can't remember what you said the line was at, but I mean, really for that, I think if Ontiveros wins, it's because he catches him with something, and Benitez is probably going to knock him out. So that's probably the best play. So next fight on the card, we have Ode Osborne against Tyson Nam. Ode coming in 11-4-0, 1-0 contest against Tyson Nam, 20-12-1. The stats that stand out to me is the reach from Osborne. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage, and the other stat that stands out to me is, unfortunately, the age of Tyson Nam. 39 years old in the flyweight division. You know, I'm always against the ageism thing and I even hate using that word because it sounds woke as fuck. But the idea of like shitting on some fighters because you're like, we were talking to Josh Hill about this. People were shitting on him for his age when they were breaking down his fight a couple fights ago. I was like, what? He's like 33 or some shit like that. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? But in this case, when you have flyweights, and you're now 39 years old, you're pushing 40 years old, the speed won't be there when you're already a guy who doesn't throw volume at all, and you plot forward and always try to take up real estate in the cage, and you're always putting guys on their back foot, but you're not throwing. That's what I saw on tape from Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam tends to try to put you on your back foot, chases you down, but doesn't really throw enough volume to really back it up. He lands 3.64 strikes per minute and he absorbs 5.69. That's not really a smart game plan, especially when you're plotting forward. Like, it's not like he had 1 or 2 fights where someone just attacked him and he just sort of got tagged up. He plots forward and just tends to get hit. And, while he's been in the UFC for some time now, his loss, I like the one I was really using as a gauge was Matt Schnell, because he is very he doesn't fight as frequent enough. So the Matt Schnell fight was a good marker to really tape this fight. But if you look at Ode Osborne, the guy's got power. The guy's willing to throw strikes from anywhere. He's got good counters. Yeah, he can be a little bit reckless. Yeah, he's been caught. But I just think this is an Ode spot all day long. I think Nam's volume, and while he does have some power, I just think he's going to have to land a beautifully perfect place shot. I don't think, Osborne's chin is necessarily, gone. Just because a guy gets knocked out doesn't mean that's going to be an issue. I just think Ode all day, maybe a decision, maybe go KO and by decision. I think could be a safe little proppy play. But what are you looking at right now? And what's the line sitting at?
Right now the line's sitting at -275, -245 for Ode, and +205 for Tyson. I'm
Maybe a
looking at
little
violence.
wide.
What's that?
A little wide.
Yeah, it's a little wide. This fight I'm looking at violence, man. The fight doesn't go. It's sitting at -225. I think it's a good parlay piece, man, because the thing with Nam is Nam's even came out and said this week that he's going for broke. He wants the KO on his record before he calls it a day. And yeah, and he can do it. He has done in the past. But as I said, the guy's 39 years old fighting in a division filled with like 25-year-olds. So he finishes fights or he tends to lose by decision. The last time he was finished was by Marlon Rice in 2013. So it's been a long time. So prop wise, man, it's kind of it is hard, but I still side with violence. I don't know. I think Ode will get him out of there if he does. And I think if Ode lasts, or if Tyson lasts long enough for Ode to gas or start to show any sort of durability issues, Tyson's been in there in so many 3-round fights that you'll still be alive for the KO. But I'm with you, man. I think Ode rides in the spot fairly easily. And yeah, it's just that's it. Tyson Nam hasn't been finished since 2013, and that makes me a little bit more skeptical on my violence play now that I look at that.
But you know what? That's where I like if you really are on the Ode Osborne side, because I think that Nam's going to be there to be hit, whether it's a bad decision or not bad, where he just gets beat up and loses a decision, or he gets KO'd. I think that KO or decision on Bodog, I'll check it out, and I'll have to check that out and tweet it out after, is likely going to be the play. Next fight on the card, we have Jason Witt, 19-8-0 against Josh Quinlan, 5-0-0 and 1 no contest because he pissed hot on the Dana White Contender Series. So we know that he went in with a steroid, and from what I've sort of heard, the steroid initially at Dana White Contender Series was one that you take for performance in the moment type of thing. Not necessarily one for long-term growth or build. It was really a one that he was taking for that gets in and out of your system quick, gives you high performance. That could be complete bullshit, some things I heard and read. That being said, it shows sort of what he's trying to do to win. So, I mean, if this man is willing to do anything to win, I'll back him. On top of that, last week they were supposed to fight, and Quinlan went through his weight cut. Some of those steroids, metabolites, whatever the hell it is, came out. Not enough for USADA to have an issue with it, but enough for Nevada to have an issue with it. So we have the fight in San Diego, and I'm not changing the motherfucking thing in what I thought. I think that Quinlan's going to come out, and he is going to pretty much at least crack Witt on his chin early, get the respect, and then Witt's going to still march forward and get touched up and get taken out. I know Witt's there with a better pedigree. He's got more solid wrestling. Quinlan apparently is pretty decent off of his back. Not a place you want to live anyways. But it's a place where if he has decent enough jiu-jitsu, create enough distance to get off his back, or create enough space. That being said, I think that this is a Quinlan spot all day. I think Quinlan's going to be able to get back to his feet, like I said, keep this on the feet, and at some point throughout those 3 rounds, touch Jason Witt's jaw. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be disrespectful this week about it because I don't want to do that 2 weeks in a row. He's going to KO the man. The line's pretty wide, I think, at this point. You're going to have to get proppy on this. And then it's not one I think that just because he's only 5-0, it's not one I think I would parlay, because it feels like it's 100% going to happen. But I know that you are going to give the other angle a little bit to the side of this, at least to some point, with how good Witt is. You don't want to get caught in 3 rounds of whipping on top and lose a decision and have Quinlan on your ticket. So I think maybe keep him off your ticket if I'm, I think that's probably the best play on that. But anyways, what's your take?
Yeah, for sure, man. One thing, like, because this fight recently got added, I don't have any lines on it either, other than the money lines. But if you're gonna look at it from an alternative perspective, like if you can get Josh Quinlan by KO or Jason Witt by decision, once again, that's something you
Yep.
could put your mortgage on. But I think you're gonna see a lot of what you saw in the Philip Rowe fight with Jason Witt, where Quinlan's probably gonna suffer early, and I think in return, though, you're going to get a late or to mid late KO, probably second round KO, because Jason Witt never comes out looking the same in the second as he did in the first. And in that Philip Rowe fight, it was very evident where he was able to control that whole first round. But coming out in the second, man, he looked like half the man he was coming out in the first. So he's not really a finisher. And but you said it correctly, right? Like Josh Quinlan's 5-0. And if you go back and watch all 5 fights, there's nothing that really shows how credible he is off his back. And Jason Witt's the type of guy that could potentially hold him there for 3 rounds. So tread lightly on it, I do have to say. But I'm assuming Quinlan probably gets him out of there at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, and like I was saying before, it's likely a Quinlan stop, but there is a little thread that you could pull at and eventually walk away with the Jason Witt decision. So let's tread lightly on that one, but we will move into one that I'm going to tread pretty lightly on. Yusuf Zalal against Damon Blackshear. So we have Yusuf Zalal 10-5-0 against Blackshear 12-4-0. Maybe a Blackshear decision. I don't have a hot take on this one. I was more going to lean to you on this one, but I think that with Blackshear, he's likely going to even put Zalal out late, if not a decision in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty high on Blackshear in this one. I think with Zalal is that his striking is definitely going to be the better part of his game in this one. And if he's able to utilize it, then he'll definitely win minutes on the feet. If you watch a lot of Blackshear's tape, though, his wrestling is really good, man. And I think he's going to come out and have a strong approach towards it. And I think he's probably going to ride this into a decision. Zalal is durable, and I see this fight being close. Whenever this fight got announced, I was really hoping we get a better line on it. But like right now, you're only getting plus 105 on Blackshear, though. So you're not really getting much on a low level MMA fight with a lot of questions. But Blackshear by decision, plus 240. Fight goes to decision is minus 190. And I think that's the best way you can play this fight.
Yeah, so I mean, either way, if Zalal were to try to get in on a takedown and Blackshear stuffs 1 or 2, Zalal gets tired, or if Blackshear takes him down, gets on top of him, starts making him carry his weight, and Zalal gets tired, it could lead to the finish. So what would you say is your strongest play this week?
Strongest play this week is probably Loopy by decision, but I know that's probably where you're gonna go. I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot you can be confident in. Bruno Silva by KO, Loopy by decision, Martin Boudet, I think is a lock, and those are probably my 3 strongest plays. As I said, I would try lightly on Gabriel and probably put Ode Osborne on the top of the list there too.
Yeah, I really like, if you were to do some kind of a parlay, I do like if you were to try to put Ode in there with Loopy. Who else would you add to that mix?
Boudet.
Like a three piece.
I think you add Boudet to that one. So we do Ode, Boudet, and I'd rather put Bruno than Ode. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, Bruno gives you that, if you really want to do the whole hedge thing, you could.
Yeah, it kind of leaves you for better. So if you do Bruno, Ode, and Loopy, you're sitting at what? You're sitting at plus 140. I think that's
that's a healthy little parlay.
it keeps
Now,
healthy, man.
I'm very, 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 very high on Nina Nunes in this spot. It's a combination of just sort of, not that she's so amazing at what she does, but to what she does pretty consistently, is going to stifle Calvillo and really create problems for her. It's a fate of Calvillo in this spot. It's going to be a Nunes by decision. And once again, I know it's not her. I know it was her wife, but just seeing how Amanda looked, that's just a glimpse into what those fight camps could be like. I'm not saying she's going to come out looking anything like that, but you got to think that that's going to rub off at least to some degree. And then on top of that, Calvillo is a huge fade. So I think this is one of the big smash spots of the week. For me, though, that's where I lay my hat. I know that it's a lot of people want to fade women's MMA. And you know what I thought about this, by the way? So that women's MMA, and I heard that Laura Sanko say this. I don't know. I guess it was on Dana White Contender Series. Michael Bisping was talking about women's MMA. He's like, what did he say? They were making a joke about baking a cake. She was using a reference about baking a cake.
Yeah.
And he makes his usual jokes, and they do their banter back and forth. And she said, yeah, well, with women's MMA, they tend to, they're a lot smaller frames. They throw strikes that are a little bit lighter, so they go to decision a lot. And that's something that we obviously know, but that really is why it happens. It doesn't mean that when you say, low level is brand new fighters into the UFC. The women's MMA, a lot of it's going to go to decision because they're not finishing. They're not going to finish. You're starting to see finishes happen now because women are finding creative ways via spinning elbows and everything else. But it doesn't mean they're any less talented. It just means there's a lot more decisions, and you get pissed off because a judge didn't go your way. And I'm not saying you. I'm just saying that's really what that is. That sort of stigma with betting on women's MMA. It goes to decision a lot, and it's because they don't have the finishing power, and neither do a lot of the lighter weight guys in the UFC as well too. So unless it's submission. So, anyways, just a little side tangent. But I think Martin Buday also is another big spot. I think Lucas Brzezinski is just not the spot there. I think he's going to get tagged up, beat up. I think him by KO is definitely a thing to look at. And although Lipsky was a big spot last week, it's something I'm going to sort of take a step back from a little bit. You mentioned the COVID. Whether that's true or not, irrelevant. I'm staying away from it. It's out there, and I'm not touching it. So, and then man, we're head to head in a double down on the Shui bet. Marlon Chito Vera wins in 4-5 or decision is a prop I'm going to look at, and also obviously just head to head. You're saying that Dominic Cruz is likely going to win by decision, correct?
I would think so, yeah.
And then if you can find the bet, and I'm sure it'll be out there, it'll probably be a little juicy, but hey, it'll probably happen almost 100%. Marlon Vera by KO or Dominic Cruz by decision together. If you can get that.
Minus 150. It's not bad. It's only minus 150.
Not bad at all. That is not bad at all. And in some crazy books, they'll even let you parlay stuff like that. So the other one, just to sort of just tread lightly on, maybe and enjoy and download the information on it, is the Yasmin Uruguay against Lasmin Lucindo. I think Uruguay is going to style on her, and we're going to see a girl that's going to make a statement. Just enjoy it. I wouldn't really stay on it. You hit it too hard, but you did say the sneaky play of the week, and we'll end with this one. What was it? Your sneaky play of the week?
A lot on what? Nina Nunes third round? Or no, for this the under. Yeah. Both
the
girls coming out
half, plus 155.
That's it.
Uruguay, Lucindo. I think that's it's interesting. I mean, hey, maybe it doesn't hit, but I think it is a cool angle. Especially because I think Lucindo is a little bit lower level, and I think that Uruguay might actually be ready for the challenge in the UFC. So
for sure.
That being said, I'm Callum McGregor. Don't Tap Podcast. He is Nick Eglad, the man with the tape. We love to watch tape. We love to break things down, try to line our pockets while we line yours. And if you don't like it,
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Let's go!
Let's go!